So I will call the meeting to order for November 9th, 2020 for the East Lyme Board of Education. This is a regularly scheduled meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. The first item that's up is public comment. We received two public comments which are included in the board doc system. And the first one is from Dr. Nicole Moscato from 7 Darrows Ridge Road. And it's about two pages long. It starts off with, this pandemic has been hard on everyone. It is hard on teachers. It has been hard on parents. It has been especially hard on students. So many statistics, data recommendations have been thrown around. I have a hard time integrating and digesting all of this. I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I've attempted to outline and summarize and share some of my data from my viewpoints. And she goes on to very nicely present 6 major items, citing statistics, citing what she has heard from the board meetings that we had last week, conversations that she had with Dr. Seekant, our medical advisor, and suggestions that came in from board members, as well as input from Principal DiLoretto at Niantic Center, at Haynes. Very, very nicely laid out. Again, at the end, if we continue in this current hybrid model, we must continue to strive to do better to meet the rigorous educational standards laid out in Addendum 12 by the State Department of Education, which includes live daily contact between teachers and students, direct instruction, direct engage learning for about 4.5 to 5 hours each day, whether remote or in person. And that's from Nicole Moscato. The second public comment is from Dr. Catherine Canby. This is her second letter that she's written to the board. And again, very nicely written. She was very appreciative of having Dr. Seekant reach out to her. She suggested that we make it much better known of who the medical advisor is for the district, and make it easy for parents to have access to Dr. Seekant. Again, the major point in her about a 1-page letter is, I would like to reiterate my recommendation to return to full in-person school. The town of East Lyme is now in the yellow zone with 6.1 cases per 100,000 people. And she basically, again, goes on to state some more data and references. And just one other thing is that she's, let's see. Again, just very concerned that the school system is not being decisive. We're not being decisive, and we're being too conservative. If I could kind of summarize the major points. So that's from Catherine Canby. So and those are in the board doc for everyone to see, and they'll also be attached with the minutes. So anyone who wants to see our proceedings from this meeting can have access to those public comments, and we certainly thank the two folks for providing those public comments. With that, we'll move on to the approval of some minutes. We have the minutes from our October 26th meeting. It was a regularly scheduled meeting. They are attached in board doc now. I know that they weren't. They were just added. So if people aren't comfortable in approving those minutes, as stated, we can certainly push it off to the next meeting. But with that, they are attached now in the board doc. So would anybody want to make a motion to approve minutes for the October 26th?
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 26th meeting, please.
Okay. Anybody like to second that?
I'll second.
Okay, Candace seconds. Any comments, corrections, modifications to those minutes? Nope. Okay, all those in favor of approval of minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? I think John was the only one who wasn't present at the meeting. Okay, so we have the minutes from our November 4th special meeting that was held. And those were in board doc, so for everybody to have time to review. Jamie, you want to make a motion?
Yep, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the November 4th special meeting, please.
I'll second.
Second, Candace seconds. Any corrections, modifications to those minutes? Nope. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody want to abstain? I think John was the only one that wasn't there. Okay. That brings us to selectman representative. I did not see a selectman representative. Jeff, did you see anybody? Okay.
I did not, no.
I did see Grace. We do have a East Lyme High School student representative with us. Grace, did you want to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start off with on last Saturday, the girls swim team competed in their postseason meet experience at the high school. And they were supposed to like compete against virtually. So like the teams were gonna each swim and then at different times, and then their times were gonna be put in like into the computer and compared to each swimmer. But unfortunately, after the East Lyme team swam, then the Ledyard team came, and then right before they like jumped into the pool, they realized that one of their kids tested positive, so they had to shut down the pool and like basically stop the whole meet for Ledyard, and Waterford couldn't compete after either. So the only teams that really were able to compete were East Lyme and NFA. But besides that, the sealed by literacy test has been taking place at this school. And in addition to that, a lot of things have been going really smoothly for online, like for the hybrid learning at the high school. But something that has kind of, something that my teachers have talked about a little bit is about the Wednesday. I know a lot of I know a lot of the kids do enjoy being able to have those office hours on Wednesdays. But something that is a little bit of a concern for some AP classes is that although it's only like 1 day a week, it's still getting some of the classes behind. For example, my AP Calc class my teacher said it's already about 3 weeks behind from where it was last year. So we're gonna have to either not be able to learn everything before the AP exam, or we're gonna have to possibly miss out on some review time before the exam. In addition to that class, I know my EP Psych class is getting a little bit behind, and my teachers were talking about even if we did like a little bit of Zoom on Wednesday, even if it's not like a full class, it might help just help us not get as behind, just having a little bit of time to meet as a class and do like a little lesson or something on Wednesday. That's all I have to say about the high school, but I know Sachi has a little bit more to say.
Good, okay. Sachi?
Hi, so I have a little more update on the sports. The girls varsity soccer team has their first round of the modified ECC tournament this Wednesday at Stonington High School, and the boys are actually playing NFA right now at the turf. Last Friday, no spectators, even at home games, were allowed to attend. They made that a new rule, and I'm sure everyone has seen that basketball was supposed to start on November 21st, but ended up getting pushed back to an unknown date, which is very unfortunate. But right now, the senior class and junior class senators have paired up to start fundraising and get back some money that we lost from last spring. And we are raking leaves, and clubs are meeting normally on Wednesdays throughout the day. So everything's going pretty well.
Good, great. Any questions for Sachi or Grace? Jamie?
Can I just ask them if they don't have anything going on, that they stick around for the discussion on inclement weather days?
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
sounds good.
Thanks,
Okay.
ladies.
Yeah.
Eric?
Thanks. I had a few questions. So Grace, you talked about AP classes and appreciate that. So do you know, and maybe if you don't, I don't know if Deb is on or yeah, Deb's on or Jeff. So are they, I had heard that they were modifying the AP exams, that they're not going to include all the content that they had in previous years to account for this. Were you saying that you're 3 weeks behind with the modified content?
Um, from like the 3 weeks behind, we're just behind from where they were last year, so not the modified content. But I think a lot of my teachers haven't really talked about like the being modified. They just talked about like assuming that a lot of it is going to stay the same, and they still want to cover like everything before the exam. So that was my understanding of it. But
Thanks, Grace. Yeah, I think I have mixed feelings. Modified content, if you get placed out of it and then you have to take it in college, and you place out of it in college, they're going to expect you learned it all, not just the modified piece. So it's a little tricky. Okay, that's helpful. And if there's anything that you or your classmates can come up with that would help, I know you mentioned the Wednesdays, but if there's anything else that we can do that can help, if you have any ideas, we're open. I know I'm certainly open. I'm concerned about May and those tests coming up and how they're going to work. So if there's anything that you come up with. Next question. We had talked before about that some people don't turn their videos on, and I think we've been pushing to have people turn the video cameras on. Are you seeing that now in all your classes, both Versace and Grace?
Definitely. I
And
think
is
the
that-
teachers are enforcing it more to a point where they almost say, if you don't have your camera on, we don't take your attendance. So I know that's a couple of my teachers. Some are more lenient and they say, just turn them on in the beginning, let me see that you're there, and then they let you turn them off. But mostly it's going much better.
yeah, like the teachers will enforce it at the beginning of class, and then sometimes if they start screen sharing, kids will like turn theirs off sometimes. But a lot of times the teachers will, like, if a kid turns them off, they'll remind them, and they'll like say a few things multiple times throughout like the class, just to remind everybody to keep theirs on.
Okay, thanks. And then last question, sorry, Tim. Just something to think about. If winter sports get canceled, maybe you and some of the junior senate, senior senate, maybe there's some kind of intramural stuff that we can do within our school to at least get some activity, doing something, just having fun, whether it's could be 3-on-3 basketball or something, if that's allowed. I don't know what's going to be allowed, or even just some kind of fun sport, whatever, just something to keep people engaged and active. So if you guys have any thoughts that you want to bring forward, I'm sure we'd be happy to hear them.
That sounds good. And then I know also on this Wednesday we have like a full Senate meeting where all of all the grade senates meet. So I can also bring that up during that meeting, just so we can start brainstorming on some ideas that we could possibly do if winter sports do get canceled.
Yeah, honestly, on any other normal year, we would be using the winter time as fundraising, where we would host like cornhole tournaments during lunch or 3v3 basketball tournaments at lunch. So I think that could be a very good idea that me and Grace can bring up at the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
That's good. Lee, did I see you raise your hand? No, okay, Candace, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just going to echo what Eric just said about the AP content. I think that maybe Amy can help some of the teachers with that, I would think, so that we're getting the information to the kids the way that they they need it and deserve it, to be honest. And that was a concern from the beginning. So I'm very grateful that Grace brought that up during the meeting, so that we can help in any way that we can. Okay. And I'd also like to add on the intramural, because we keep talking about that. You can't really control CIAC, right? And we can't control a virus. We can't control some of these things, but there are some things that we can utilize and that we can put within our school district that maybe could benefit our kids. So I think that that is a great thing to bring up at the Student Senate, and maybe go from there. But again, that we're on board to help out in any way that we can. Thank you, girls.
Very
Thank
good,
you.
very good. Excellent. Great. And Grace, it was, I guess you did get to swim the 100 and 200, right?
Yeah.
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 How are the times?
They were all right, because we had like a break in the middle of the season when the school shut down. So it was a little bit
Yeah.
difficult to like get back in shape right after. So they weren't as fast. Like a lot of the girls didn't go best times, but I think that we still went as fast as we could, and we did improve a lot since the beginning of the season, which was good.
That's good. No, that's great. It's great. I really, that's well, at least you got something. So good. Okay. Let's see. We can let's see. Moving on, I guess, to the program, which so nice that we have Marlene Magos here from Crack to help us with that. Jeff, do you want to say a few words here?
Yeah, just a follow-up. We had talked about this last week when we were having some discussions about diversity, and the residency program came up. Marlene is the director of the residency program. The board had asked if maybe she could come and say a few words about the program, and Marlene was gracious enough to join us. So I'm going to turn it over to her. And Marlene, do you want me to share that?
If you could do that, Jeff, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Let me just grab a hold of this document quick, and then I can move the slides for you.
I really appreciate that. So after 6 or 7 months of being on Zoom meetings, my computer is finally getting so glitchy that I had to switch out and use my daughter's iPad for today's presentation. So I'm happy to be here, and good evening, everybody. My name is Marlene Magos, the director of the Teacher Residency Program at CRAC. I have been working with superintendents from across the state and RESC directors to talk about a program that we would like to bring to other districts in the state of Connecticut. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the program today, and if you have any questions, I'm open to answering them. And also following up as you speak about it within your board and in your district. So we're talking about a new generation of teachers moving forward. This residency program is really about ensuring teacher diversity amongst our state. You can go to the first slide, the next slide. And as we look at the need across the state, it's pretty dire in thinking about what our students look like and what our teachers look like. So in the graph on the right, you see almost a little over 90% of our teachers are white. And if you look at our students, we only have a little over half of our students are white, which means the rest are students of color. And what we recognize is that the diversity in our teaching staff is not even comparable to the diversity of our student population. As we look at East Line numbers, this is from the 2019-2020 school year. The staff of color, according to the state EdSite reporting, was 2.9%. And then the students of color is 23.5%. And thinking about those numbers, this is not unique to your town. It is really not unique to any town in Connecticut. And that's why this work is so important. On the next slide, we can talk about, what is the teacher residency program? So it is an alternate route to elementary certification, and it embraces a different approach to be able to attract and retain teachers of color. The first thing that we claim to do is to minimize barriers. Right now, the program is paid for not by the residents themselves, but by the school districts that are participating in it. And part of the barriers of attracting teachers of color, and especially those, this is a grow your own program where we find people who work within the communities who are working already with students who have a bachelor's degree and want to become a certified teacher, and train them in, comparable to how universities do, with 18 months of courses. They take courses in the summer, they take some courses on Saturdays and in evenings during the school year, but they also do a residency. And that residency, it's a full year that they work side by side with a mentor teacher. And while they do that, they receive pay and benefits. And that's something that is a barrier for many people going back to school and thinking about, how do I give up my job and my wage while I'm trying to go back to school and get a credential that is going to allow me to advance economically and contribute more to my family and my community, while I can't take the time off and not have a salary. So it allows people to enter the program to have a salary while they're in an intensive training program. What we do and how we set up the program is that we want our residents to be guaranteed a full-time position upon the completion of the program. So the residents are working within a particular district, and at the end, that district would offer them a position once they complete certification requirements. On the next slide, we have just a little bit of a history. So CREC started this program for a couple reasons. One, we knew it was a statewide goal. Two, we had the same exact problem in our teaching staff. We had just a little over 10% of our staff were teachers of color, and we had 75% of our students were students of color. So we convened a steering committee back in 2017, and we put in, after a year and a half worth of work, we put in an application to the State Department of Education for this alternate route certification program. It was approved in 2019, and we began our first cohort in June. It was 12 residents from CREC. And then in the second year, we haven't graduated our class just yet, but we have 11 of those residents are in our CREC classrooms, and we'll be finishing up in December their last course. But we also brought on a second cohort of 15 residents this past summer. And in that, we had more of a partnership where we had 4 districts coming together: CREC, Southington, Ellington, and Bristol. And like I said at the beginning, working with RESC partners to have these cohorts coming together across the state. And we're looking for one with interest in the Learn region. So this is where you all have some conversation about this particular program and joining as a partner. On the next slide, this is just a quick graphic about who was part of our 2 classes, or who is part of our 2 classes. Again, 11 residents in the class of 2020. We started with 12. In 2021, we have 15 residents. And for both of those classes, there are 100% people of color. And surprisingly, we have a fair amount of males who are part of the program and going to be our future elementary teachers. That also is something that you don't always run into in our elementary school. So really thinking about how to change who's in front of our students is really our first and foremost mission. As we think about involving districts, thank you, Jeff. You can, next slide. Like I said, we're looking at the 4 sites. We're looking at the ACES region, CREC region, the Learn region, and the CES region for next year. And then as the next slide gives you a little bit of information about the partnership. Now, this may be a little bit jaw dropping, but we're working with Jeff and others around other superintendents, really thinking about what is a sustainable model moving forward. When we started the program, CREC put aside funding, and we used some Title II funding to be able to support putting this project together. And what we're looking at as we expand it is having a participation and partnership model. Part of my job is not only to expand to 4 sites across Connecticut, but in 2 other areas, we're looking at private foundation fundraising, and then also looking at trying to garner state appropriations for this program. If none of that occurs, what we see in front of us is a sustainable model that is a zero-based budget, and we're looking at district participation fees of $65,750 per resident, which includes a partnership fee for recruitment, evaluation, training, coaching, and support, resident salary and benefits that would be paid directly by the district, on par with whatever negotiated rates you have for like a non-certified staff person, plus summer stipends for that person, the resident, and then a district benefits package. Lastly, a mentor stipend. The materials costs, we've gotten down to about $3,000. Tuition is paid for through the participation fee and also the RESC support, the actual coursework. RESCs are putting in $45,000 to support the regions and to support this effort, plus lots of in-kind funds like facilities and marketing support, fundraising. So the cost is spread across the different participants, but we are looking for that not only state appropriations, but philanthropic support, which is where I would ask any district and person who's really interested in bringing this forward to have those conversations with legislators and have those conversations with maybe business owners in your community to see if they can help to offset those costs. And like I said, that's part of my work in working with the superintendents across the region and across the state. For 2019, the good news is we raised a little over a quarter of the funds. We raised $288,000. I'm hopeful that next year we'll raise $1 million so that we can share that type of support across. And if I were to project and set my goal, I would say we would be able to reduce the district participation fee by almost half, hopefully moving forward. But that is dependent on our fundraising efforts. On the next slide, that's it. That's more information. But I'd be open to answering any questions at this point and seeing if there's any more details that I could provide for you.
Great.
And just add one thing quick. As Marlene mentioned, talking to other superintendents. So we have kind of our Learn group. We got Waterford, New London, Groton, Ledyard, a couple others around us that are interested in partaking in this joint venture. So, which is an exciting opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Jamie, you had a hand up, and then Candace.
Marlene, thank you so much for coming to join us tonight. I think this is a great opportunity that we could be involved in. My biggest question is I don't think I'm doing the math right, because I'm not getting the same 65.75 you're getting. I'm getting 70,700. But then my next question is the applicants to this program, do they have to have, I would assume they have to have a degree, a bachelor's degree of some sort in order to get into this program? And then when they're finished with it, do they still have to go through the regular certification process to get their teacher certification, or are they automatically certified for being in this program?
So it is a certification program, and as part of it, they also pass all their assessments like they would in any other educator prep program. After the 14 months, they're eligible for a 90-day certificate, which is consistent with any other ARC program across the state. And then through that first year, they complete their 90 days, they are eligible for a initial teacher certification.
Okay.
And for the numbers, it should be 10,750 for the participation fee, 49,000 roughly for
Yep.
the resident fees, and 6,000 for the mentor.
So the 2,000 in summer stipends are not included?
That's part of the 49.
Oh, that's included in the 49. Okay, thank you.
Yep. You're welcome, Jamie.
Good. Candace and then Lee.
Great, thank you. Marlene, thank you so much for spending your time tonight with us to really kind of go through each detail. This is a very exciting opportunity, I think, for everyone, but for us, for our district to participate in specifically. I think that one of the key things that we would need to do is look at partnering with the town, possibly with other different resources throughout the town to see what we could manage, because I absolutely believe that it's worth the investment. There's no doubt in my mind. Thank you, Marlene.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for their support.
Good. Lee?
Hi, Marlene. A few quick questions. I know you mentioned that your current residents are on a pathway to get their elementary cert. Are there plans for you all to expand into secondary areas or special education?
Great question, Lee. And that's on the minds of so many people. We do plan to expand to 2 other endorsement areas, and we have a survey out to superintendents right now to figure out what's next. There's a whole list of shortage areas at the secondary level, and we would like to be able to address not only teachers of color, but also a shortage area in our next steps. So yes, we are planning that.
2 more quick questions. As far as recruiting participants for the program, does the district typically own recruiting and then apply to your residency program, or do you recruit participants and then place them in districts?
So it could happen in multiple ways. We have options. Right now, we have some residents that were working in our classrooms as paraeducators that are now part of the program in our district. We have some that had been working within the community as, let's say, I have one that's a coach that was working in Bristol and now is part of the program for Bristol. And so we recruit within your district. And then if there is nobody within your district, we'll either go to the broader community, find somebody who maybe works in a daycare center or another organization really passionate about working with children and becoming a teacher, or there'll be people in the general pool of applicants that we could say, if you don't have anybody, here are a few that may be willing to come and work within your district. So
Great.
We do a little bit of everything.
Okay, and then last question, for your residents, once they complete their residency year and get certified, pass all their practice exams, do they sign any sort of commitment to like teach 3 years or 5 years within the district that they've done their residency, or is it common for them to go and find a position elsewhere?
So we ask for a 3-year commitment, and we're working on getting sort of the legal contractual agreements in place for our cohort for next year. Right now, it's an agreement that we've had that we bring them into the folds and we hope for the best. One of the philosophies that we had going in was, even if they didn't work at CREC, it's improving the diversity of staff across Connecticut. So it's a contribution to the greater state. But we are looking, especially as we're expanding this partnership, and it is a great investment, to be able to have a 3-year commitment to be part of the program.
Thanks, Marlene.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Great
Eric?
question.
Yeah, Lee asked, thanks, Lee. Those were all really good questions. I just to follow up on that last one. So I'm just trying to understand from a process perspective. So, as they complete their certification, and we're hoping to do this is it a 2-way conversation? So even if there's a 3-year commitment, maybe it's not a good, what if it's not a good fit for us as you go through it? And if it's not a good fit for them, I wouldn't want them locked in for 3 years either and be miserable. So how's that? What's the thinking on how that part's going to work?
Yeah, so it definitely has to be a two-way conversation or a three-way conversation, depending on, principal, superintendent, resident, so that you have the everybody on board with how to move forward. So in terms of fit, we recognize by having the partnership approach that there will be other districts that will be working together. So maybe, there's not an exact fit in your district, but you're working with another superintendent, another group that can say, I have a candidate that might be perfect for your district. The other thing is we want to put a real good effort into recruitment and selection up front so that our candidates are very viable moving forward, and we're not getting people who are not fit for the teaching profession. And then making sure that we have our coaches that work with our residents in addition to our mentors to be able to counsel people out earlier rather than later if it isn't something that is really in their future. Teaching is a wonderful career, but we have to recognize it's not for everybody. And sometimes their residency is their first experience in the classroom, and it may not be the right thing for every professional.
Thank you, very helpful.
You're welcome.
Good. Any other questions? Anybody else? Kate.
I looked up, Marlene, I looked up on your website, and I'm not seeing, as far as the recruitment, what the qualifications are for somebody to be considered. Is it, I think Jamie was alluding to this previously, is it somebody who already has a bachelor's degree, or at least where are they on the continuum of education and that whole process?
Yeah, so we want, our candidates have to have a bachelor's degree. They have to meet the state requirements for education programs, which includes a certain number of courses from the basic content areas that they would be teaching for elementary. They have to have a 3.0 or greater, but we do have a waiver because we don't feel it's appropriate. We don't feel we need to have the barrier of saying what happened back in college a long time ago in some cases, because we have people who are in their 40s in the program, has an impact on how you're going to be as a student now. So we do have a waiver process. We also recruit and put priority on people that have experience with marginalized communities and experience with diverse populations. As if we were recruiting for East Lyme, we would also like to see somebody who has a commitment to your community, because we feel that retention is going to be a lot stronger if they grew up in your community, if they went to school, if they have family there, if they feel a part of your community and want to give back to it.
So then my second question would be, do you have databases that you go through that are alum or graduates of our programs or school from our town that we can look at to bring back?
Jeff, I don't know if that might be something you guys have. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that could be something we could look at, Kate. We haven't gotten that far yet. My initial thought is to look at, our current, our pool of paraprofessionals and individuals of that nature that we might, want to invest in first.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Thank you
Very
very
good, Kate. Barry?
You're on mute, Barry.
Yeah.
All
There
right,
you go.
now can you hear me?
Yep.
Good, all right, good, got it. Okay, two quick questions. What is, do you have you been into this program long enough to get an idea of the retention rate? Because I know that the alternate route program, sometimes the candidates have a problem with retention after they get their jobs. Do you have any information yet on that?
We do not have enough information about retention. It is something we've got our surveys and supports in place. One of the things that we feel contributes to retention, or a few things that we feel, each teacher who starts their first year of teaching gets a sponsor teacher that works with them. So it's sort of like a mentor, a little more than a teen mentor that works with them and can help coach them through their first year. They also have a class during their first semester, which is called Planning Seminar, where they still meet together as a cohort to go through sort of all the milestones within your first few months of teaching. How do we do report cards? How do we do parent conferences? What do lesson plans look like? What is a, who's got an idea of how to deal with this issue or this problem? So that's another support. We're also looking to keep everybody in the fold so that we continue to work with them and grow with them as their careers, as they're growing in their careers, and then eventually bring them on board as mentor teachers. So it's part of a longer plan to keep these individuals included and leading the way and leading the charge within the program down the road. But long answer or short answer is we don't have retention data yet.
Second question, how do you select your instructors?
So right now our instructors are professionals that are working within the field. So that's a little bit different from a regular educator provider in that we have people who work, we post for the positions, and we will within your community also, we look for experts in the field. So a reading specialist might be the teacher of our reading course. We have a math coach that is teaching the math course. We have our special ed supervisors who teach the special ed coach class. So our course instructors are going to be from within the communities that will be participating in the program. And we'll open up those positions in the Learn area.
Third question, who are your competitors?
Our primary competitor is Relay. So Relay is a similar program. It is a residency model, but the residency is different in that it's not dedicated. So we require, and this is why the program is a little more expensive than Relay, we require that the resident work side by side with a mentor teacher for a full year. In Relay, you could be a paraprofessional working in a variety of capacities and still call that your residency. So just a little bit different in philosophy, and those who need that sort of more intense training, the residency model is really dedicated to the classroom.
And how does your program differ from other ARC programs?
So first and foremost, it's a residency program. And that is the primary strength of it, because it's a higher quality of clinical practice that's included in the program. And then the second is the fact that people get paid to be a part of the program. So having that position is key, because you can have, we believe that we don't want people who are working a second job on top of taking courses, on top of being part of the residency. It's really an opportunity for people to be in the program, to learn everything they need to through the coursework and do the additional work that's necessary to be able to lesson plan and do their homework and then study for the assessments that are needed. We do provide additional assessment support too for our residents. And then, like I said, on the back end, once they get their teaching position, they're moving through the community, growing with the community, and then teaching within the community, but also having that other support. So it's really a multi-year commitment by a district to say, to not only to train, but to hire the teachers, as opposed to a traditional ARC program. Anybody can go, they can get their certification, and then they have to look for their own job in any of the communities.
Just remind me again, who pays them?
So the district would pay them.
We do. Yeah, we do. Yep. That's what kind of enticed us with this, having that year-long component where, you had the resident with us, for that lengthy period of time, which is a nice added feature.
Is it, Barry?
That's it.
Okay, good. Any other questions from the board? Jill?
I was just thinking, as you have someone, let's say we have someone move into the community, are we required to assist them with housing, or are they pretty much on their own for that? So, I understand you want to hire people from the community, but I'm just thinking that through.
So right now, housing is not a component of the program.
Okay.
It's interesting because I'm on, we belong to the National Center for Teacher Residencies, and there are certain residencies that actually expand and take on housing projects and the like. It's something that is, you know, down the road a potential, but nothing that we're doing right now.
Okay, good. Jamie, did you have another question or a question?
I have a follow-up question on the fees. The materials fee of $29,500, well, $2,950, is that our material fee? Is that the residence fee, or is that the RESC's fee?
So those little details are still being worked out. Right now, we are working between, what I intend is it to be part of our fundraising campaign, in that we have a big fundraising campaign for private sponsorship that we are hoping to take care of all those fees. If not, it would fall back on the residents and or the RESCs, depending on the decision-making in the individual RESCs. But we're hoping to have all that covered.
Because then that will go to my second question of where is their buy-in to keep them in the program, and the money that we're spending for them, what is their buy-in to be in the program? Do they have any, or is it?
So the minimal fee structure was designed so that we did have resident buy-in, and the consultants that we're working with to formalize the program for expansion really do, as well as we do, advocate to have some buy-in, like you mentioned, Jamie. I will say we have a significant amount of buy-in through our residents as that we build into the selection process. So really thinking about people who can envision this long-term goal and commit to it and be part of the program from a long-term capacity through how we interview them and put them through the process.
So I guess it goes back to, I'm going to have a better buy-in because I paid my way through college than the person who got a free ride and they don't really have any, you know, thing in there. So I guess my question is, so we're giving these applicants a mentorship program where they learn and they teach and they get all of this schooling, and they come out with basically a degree and certification on the towns. But who's to say that besides the I don't know, you said you were still working with your lawyers on the 3-year contract. Who's to say that they actually stay at the end of it? Because if you don't really have that 3-year contract, what is their buy-in that they actually
Amy, can I just say, I guess at that age or at that time when they go into this program, the commitment is strong enough. It's not like we're doing an undergraduate degree, we're doing further certification. And like she mentioned, one of her clients was 40 years old. I understand what you're saying, but I mean, you think about, like, I think about the time I got to my master's, I was like, my buy-in was a little deeper because I was finally horning in on what my career was going to be. But I understand your concern. They don't have any, quote, any skin in the game, but I'm just saying that's not a worry of mine, but I understand what you're saying.
I'm not saying I love this program and I think it's great. I just want to make sure that the investment that the town is putting into it gives us the staff that we are looking for in our region. And I'm looking out for the other schools too. I want to make sure that everyone who's putting in this actually gets their staff out of it.
Well, there's a piece of that too, Jamie. You know, we have to have a position available and open too.
Right,
at the
because
end of
that's
this.
what the other part of this is. It says that we will employ them.
Exactly.
So
but there's where the regional
staff openings.
There's where the regional approach comes in too, where, you know, hopefully there will, if it's not in East Lyme, it's somewhere in this region with the group and partners that we're working with, that we could find a position, you know, for that individual. But obviously our goal is, and if they have, that's the piece of having them here a full year, you're really going to get more buy-in. They become part of the culture, the community of the school, and want to stay. And that's the other piece that that I was impressed with.
I think it's a great program, and I would love for us to actually be a part of it. I just want to see all the little I's and T's dotted and crossed before I say, yes, we're all in.
Good points. Very good, Jamie. Barry, you got your hand up.
So I have a question on, it's really related, Eric brought this up before, but the process we're going to use going forward on this. And it's really a question that is more for us, and I don't think Marlene has to be involved in it, so I can defer on it until she leaves, and we can continue with it, with this one question after she leaves.
Okay.
And I just want to say hi, Barry. I worked with you. You worked with us in Bristol for a while.
Oh, that's right, I thought you looked familiar, you know, and like, which of the schools were you in?
I was in
Were you
central
in-
office. I worked with Denise.
Okay, with Denise. Okay, got it. Because yeah, that's, and I'm still Phil and I still do a lot of work together, and yeah, that's because you came on. I was like, you know, all right, where is it? Where is it? How do I place? You know, that. Okay, that's great. We had so much fun there in Bristol. There's a lot of good things we did with you and Denise.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Good to see you.
You too.
Good. Okay. Well, I certainly echo what I've heard from a lot of the board members is that this is a program that would be very, very exciting to be part of. And there's always risk with something because, like Marlene said, that it hasn't been in existence that long, so you don't really have a big database. But I think that the pieces sound pretty well thought out, and it's kind of I think it's a very exciting opportunity. So I'm sure we'll be having some more conversations about this in the very near future. So anything else to add, Jeff?
Nope, we just appreciate Marlene's time. I know she's
Yes.
busy, and I want to let her get back to her world. And thank you, Marlene. Look forward to hearing from you and speaking with you more.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity of working with you all.
Good, excellent. Okay.
Thanks,
so
Ian. We'll be in touch.
We'll move on to our next item for discussion and action, and that's the phase 2 proposal of the
Tim?
Miracle League. Yes, I'm sorry.
Can I just add up this follow-up question on that program?
Can you hold off? Can you hold on that? Because we will come back later on in the agenda and have a follow-up on discussion on equity and inclusion. Can you
No, this is related to this
hold
Learn
until
program.
then, Barry?
This is related to the Learn program.
Yeah, then that I would say that's yeah. Could we? I just would like to get Dave on
Okay,
here.
go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. So let's move on to the next item with respect to the Miracle League's phase 2 proposal. Jeff, do you have anything you want to say before we turn it over to Dave?
Yeah, Dave came and met with myself and Danielle Showman at Flanders. Has had conversations with Chris Lunn about the next opportunity, great opportunity with phase 2 of part of the Miracle League field and continued expansion and work. So I'm going to turn it over to Dave just to talk about that. As attachments in board docs, you should have seen the phase 2 documents and kind of what the layout was, and Dave will take a few minutes and kind of walk us through those documents, and we can go from there. So thanks, Dave, for joining us tonight.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me. And just want to thank you all for all your support for phase 1. And we're excited that phase 1 is complete, and we're actually did some programming on it this fall. We had a dance program and a soccer program out there that was very successful. So we're excited that phase 1 is up and running. I did meet with Jeff and Danielle and discuss phase 2. And phase 2 of our project includes a fully accessible restroom facility and also a fully accessible playscape area. You have the documents there, just some things that the playscape area, as far as that is concerned, will be a port-in-place surfacing. Right now you have wood chips there that really aren't accessible for kids in wheelchairs and walkers and everything. So our proposal is to come in and make not only the surface, but all the apparatuses and all the elements in the playscape area would also be wheelchair and walker accessible and totally accessible and that kind of thing. And then also the restroom as well. The restroom facility, as far as that is concerned, would look very similar, or our thought would look very similar to the football concession stand building that you have there at the high school already, so that it kind of mirrors that that's already been in place there with the split block and in the design of that. One thing we do have to do is we have to bring water and sewer to that building, and so that would be connected to the front of the parking lot there at Flanders School. So as far as that is concerned, we are looking for your approval as far as before we bring it to zoning. And if you guys had any issues or concerns, whatever, before we bring it before the zoning commission and look for their approvals, that we run it by you guys first, since it is on your property. I'm open to any questions or concerns. I know you have a set of the blueprints that have been developed by TO Design. They were also our architect company that did phase 1 is too. So we're extremely happy with their professionalism, and also with the contractor that we had for phase 1, which was Earth Dynamics. They were great. So
just to share, Dave shared with us earlier today too some drone footage of the existing field. If I think everybody's been back there maybe, or has seen pictures of the field, but some great shots of Kevin's courts, as well as the basketball court, as well as the field, which are loaded in board docs as well for you to take a look at. So thanks for sharing those, Dave.
Yep, no problem.
Good. Any questions for Dave on this? Very consistent with what my understanding was with the phase 2 proposal. Is this actually phase 2 and 3?
Yeah, we combined phase 2 and 3.
That's what I thought.
Phase 2 at one point was like I think the playscape, and then phase 3 was the restroom facility. We wanted to we think we should put the restroom facility ahead of the place facility. Right now we're using we had a handicap porta potty unit out there, which nobody likes. But we are, so we would like to do it together and have it phase 2 and 3 be together.
Good. Any concerns or questions for Dave from any board members on the proposal? Anybody would like to say yes?
But I want to thank Jamie and Kim Davis for being part. They're on our board, on the Miracle League board, and their support has been really huge. And I know that communication hopefully will continue well between our board, the Miracle League board, and your board. So.
Yep. Good.
All right. I would like to make.
Kate had her hand up.
Sorry.
Jamie.
Yep.
Kate?
I'm just curious about ages for usage of this. Is this designed primarily for elementary kids?
Yes. So basically there goes the playground areas are built for 2 to 5 ages, or 5 to 12 usually. This would be designed for 5 to 12.
So 5
years old.
5 through 12, or 5 ages 5 through 12?
Ages 5 through 12.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, I would like to make a motion to approve the phase 2-3 proposal of the Miracle League field.
A second.
Okay, that was second. Any more of the discussion on this, or any comments? Anybody? No? Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Does anyone oppose the motion?
Sure.
No. And would anybody want to abstain? Jill raised your hand.
Yeah, I raised my hand in agreement. It was a little late.
Oh, okay. Anybody want to abstain?
I technically think that I have to abstain.
Oh, by being on the board?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Jamie abstains. So the motion passes. And Dave, good luck in the fundraising. It's going to take a couple of years. I don't know. You got some miracles.
Yeah, Tim, you were in and out, but I think you were talking about fundraising for it. So we are, just starting that phase 2. We have about $50,000 that was left over from where phase 1 is, and so our goal is another, $450 to $550,000 to get it complete. So we're probably looking similar to when I came to you the first time. We're probably looking 1.5 2 years out.
Yeah.
Hopefully with
Yeah.
our fundraising, and hopefully we can get past this whole COVID restrictions, and we can start doing some in-live person fundraising again, like every other nonprofit. So
Yeah.
But yeah, probably it'd be nice to be done in 18 to 24 months. Would be nice to be there. So
Good. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everybody. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item under instruction, and that is the for continued discussion on East Lyme Public Schools 2021 continued school progress. Jeff, do you have some things you want to say?
Yeah, we'll add a couple in. I know we had some lengthy and robust discussion, last Wednesday during the special meeting, which was solely attributed, to this. You did receive, my my letter Friday that I had drafted to send out to parents, which would go out, tomorrow, as it pertains to, remaining in, the hybrid model, and reassessing as we get into the holidays in December, with the hope, with the anticipation of, the trends going downward and across the region, and continuing, in East Lyme as they have, and then look at working up some timelines and dates to begin that process, and whether that's a K, a K1, K2, or a K6, to start, with at that level, and then see where we go from there. Things are ramping up around us, I will add. Ledger just closed their high school. I think it was in the paper today. New London is working remotely right now. Montville's still remote. Waterford's teetering. They had additional cases come up over the weekend. We are sitting on 5 pending cases right now in East Lyme. We're waiting for the results back. So, it's not just the issue though of cases too, like you saw, with the middle school piece. We had to close Akiva down because it involved a staff member that was part of that positive case. So it's the quarantining aspect, and that's what districts are struggling with, is having to quarantine numbers of people for lengthy periods of time and just not having the staff. I know the other one, I think it was Region 4, Essex, they were full in and they just went fully remote as well. So they're ramping up around us. I think that's another reason to continue, to be cautious. I mean, that's my job, to be cautious and monitor the health and the well-being of 2,700 students and 600 staff members. And, we take that serious. And I've said it from the start, I will continue to work with Ledgelight as well as our medical advisor and follow their guidance. And I will not deviate, from that. So there's a couple of the pieces, the middle school, we did that survey, and Amy and Jason are just going to chat for a minute about, some potential changes there. The elementary survey's out, we get the results back, and that's done by Wednesday. And then Amy put the Viking 4 updates. There's a question about how many students, are part of Viking 4 that are coming 4 days a week. So we're supporting, a number of students. You saw those numbers in the update on Friday. So Amy and Jason, you just want to talk briefly about the middle school component first?
Sure, I'm happy to jump in if I can. So thanks everyone. The survey data was really, really helpful for us. I mean, it gave us great perspective on where kids are, where teachers are. So we've had a couple of team leader meetings. I want to thank Jeff and Amy for that. Amy's joined us for those, to just kind of disaggregate that data and go through the data and really see what kind of fundamental changes we can make. So right now we're exploring the option of Zooming for 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So the cohort B kids would Zoom into their classes on Mondays and Tuesdays, and the A kids would be on Thursdays and Fridays. There's a few logistical things there. We're going to try to have a timely turnaround on this. I will communicate that with parents, what that schedule will look like by the end of the day this Wednesday for folks. And I just need a little more time with my staff to kind of talk that through. Unfortunately, today we were in the midst of a good meeting, a productive meeting, and the fire alarm went off for the second time today. So that meeting got a little bit disrupted. So we're going to have to kind of pick that up a little bit. But I think that that's a reasonable strategy for us. And I think, kids want to see their teachers. They just really want to see their teachers. And if they don't see them if they only see them 2 days a week, what's the next best thing that we can offer students and families is to see them 4 days a week. Lots of pros and cons both way, and we can kind of kick that can down the road for a long, long time. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to land in a really good spot for us and make this all work. And we've got a staff that'll support that. So, Amy, did I touch everything, or do you want to add anything?
You did. No, the only thing I want to add, and I had mentioned it a little bit in AAA this evening in regards to really trying to make this year about a we culture and really leaning on each other. So one of the pieces Jason and I discussed was having actually our high school teachers, maybe having one or two attend future team leader meetings so that they can actually hear from their colleagues that have implemented this initiative a couple of weeks ahead. And then maybe even reaching out to some other, middle school teachers as well, because there's nothing like talking colleague to colleague, level to level in regards to that. So again, just trying to get colleagues to be problem solvers together and be real about the challenges and the barriers as we move those things forward. So, but the team leaders have been great in working with the administration and I, being really transparent and really trying to provide insight and value as far as how we move this forward in the best way for our families. So it's been
if I can just add maybe one more thing. I think that, our teachers, they want to do it well. They want to do it. They want to be in 100% and just be really outstanding at what they do. And it's different. And they're worried about that. We're going to support that through the whole process. But I think this checks off a few more boxes to us. I think one, kids thrive better, and we know this when they have a schedule that they can rely on. So I think it's going to really help with that schedule, number one. I think two, through a social and emotional lens, they are connecting twice as much with their teachers this way. And I think that's important. Not only their teachers, but it brings our cohorts together. So that each team is a cohort, but we're still kind of split in half. We have cohort B and cohort A, all within one larger cohort being the team. So now it helps unify that. It helps bring those kids together more as a more cohesive team. So I think there's a lot of positive advantages to this, and we're going to make it work. And I know the teachers will do a great job with it. So any questions anyone has, you can reach out to me now or at any time in the future. And I can give an update as soon as we get started with that too. Dr. Sheckley.
Barry?
Okay, two quick questions, Jason. When you just referenced that social and emotional lens, I'm trying to figure out like the fidelity of that framework as it's being used in our schools. Explain more what you meant by that.
Sure. So so what we've done this year is we have in the past, our focus is on the CASEL competencies, and the CASEL competencies is sort of where we ground everyone. Every month we have a theme based on all those CASEL competencies, and the counselors put out a newsletter to our staff, and they provide a list of resources. So the goal is to embed whatever the theme, say the theme is self-awareness. In that particular month, the theme of that CASEL competency will be self-awareness. So rather than just do an advisory meeting where we're just meeting at one time every 2 weeks for 30 minutes, we're embedding all those themes of those CASEL competencies on a daily, very consistent basis. But I think by Zooming together and having all the kids together, kids will hear that same message on a consistent basis in sort of one more cohesive group.
Second question, what was the response rate on your survey?
Amy, you can help with that. I want to say we had about 400 to 450 responses out of a population of 742 families.
Yeah,
right around there.
Let me get an actual final number here.
It was like 498 or something like that, wasn't it, Amy? Or 478, somewhere in there.
Dr. Sheckley, it's been one of the higher response rates that we've probably ever had in any survey that I'm aware of that's come out of the middle school.
647.
Oh,
there you go.
Was that
out of 647 out of how many?
742.
Okay, thank you.
Even better.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Candace?
Okay, yes, it is impressive. And I'm happy to hear that the survey, like I said, it's not an answer, but it gives you a real guider on how people are feeling. And it really can help you come to decisions that are going to benefit the majority, right? Especially when you have that type of response. So I want to thank you for listening, right? Because I think that we all are really sharpening our active listening skills, right? For Amy, she did, and we did touch on communication and what other routes that we can do, to continue the dialogue consistently so that we're all not on the same page, but that we're trying to find the right balance for East Lyme for everybody. So I thought that that was really good. And as far as the numbers are not in our favor. That is for certain as far as making a decision right now to come back. They're going in the other direction. And personally, I have a more, not as a conservative look. I would have signed my kids up to come back in the fall, to be honest with you. But I don't sit here to make decisions for the entire district based on my personal opinion, right? We have to take lots of different modes into consideration when things are moving forward. And, to Jeff and our central office team and the people that are we are all invested in this district. I think that there's a true love for what we do for children, for our people that are underneath our umbrella. Everyone, our teachers, our food service folks, our custodians, anything and everyone that is underneath our district. We're trying to make it work the best way that we possibly can. And there are always going to be, some folks that want something specific right at the moment. And I am one that definitely wants to see more children back in the school district and back in our buildings as soon as possible. But I know that we have to really tread carefully. I understand that. I also understand that we have medical advisors for a reason. And I did feel very thankful that they spent time with us, right? I think that their insight goes a long way. And I think that when they're with us is even more powerful. I would like to suggest, I'm not too sure how accessible our medical advisors are for our community members. So if we can add maybe their information to our website, maybe when Jeff is getting those, having those interactions with our medical advisors, maybe they can either put something out in a statement. I mean, nowadays, a little YouTube video and send it out. We could put a link on. That way people can have a full understanding of maybe why, certain recommendations are being made at certain points would be good. I would like to talk about other ways of adjusting our day. I think that that's kind of how we were talking about it, how the day is modeled so that there may be more in person. So whether or not it's, how do I want to say this? More connection with face-to-face with teachers. I hope I'm saying it the right way that people are understanding it. So if our kids are not in person in the building, that they are receiving quality interaction that both our students are going to get benefit from, but also our teachers. So I spoke a little bit about that at the last meeting that we had, just coming out of conferences, and that's really the biggest piece that we're missing is this connection that I think that we all kind of take for granted. But we are relationship-based people, and our town is really a relationship-based community, right? And going back to school in this model has really shown how important those moments are to building a foundation. So I think that even for our teachers, especially sitting just, with a few of the teachers for the meetings for this past week, was that they have to do things that are so different in order to connect with their students.
Yep, we're optimistic. We're going to do a good job.
Good. Kate?
Hi, Jason. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just wondering about the 40% that didn't respond to surveys. Do you have a sense of who they are and how they are? And if we could maybe, I don't know, due diligence, I guess, for lack of a better word, and reach out to make sure that they're on board and how they're doing. I'm sure that you have a sense of that, but just wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a good sense. I mean, I think just in a more general sense, Kate, that we are always thinking about our under-engaged students. We meet weekly with our with our school counselors to go over those kids, to reach out to the families. They in turn meet with our teams. We do a meeting called a Kid Talk every week. And so if you think about our building, it's broken into 3 floors, and our counselors, we have 9 teams, we have 3 counselors, so it's a perfect match. We assign 3 teams, each of the counselor, and just kind of based on attendance, either through Zoom, in person, Google Classroom, just overall how the kids are interacting. Then with the help of the team, the counselors reach out to the student, they reach out to the family. We have an outstanding related services staff in terms of our social worker and our 2 school psychologists who do a lot of work behind the scenes to try to re-engage those kids. So I think I don't have necessarily data in front of me now to find that, are those the same kids who may have not had families respond to those surveys? But ultimately, those are the kids that we worry about too, those non-engaged kids. So we're always trying to dig a bit deeper into that, if that answers your question.
I knew you'd have a good answer to that, and that's probably why I asked the question. And the other thing, Jason, I wanted to tell you that I heard from Brian Burridge, and he was so thrilled with what you did on his behalf at recording our WW2 veterans. And I just think that project-based learning is probably the best way we can go right now. I think it hits on a lot of the different academics, engages the student, social emotional components, empathy, history, so I think there's so many things. So again, kudos to you for your hard work and all that you do.
Thanks. That's been, Veterans Day is going to be different for us this year. And so we've got some teachers that have come up with some exceptionally creative ideas on how to really, make that go well. And we've had, just so the board knows, we've had Brian Burridge, who represents veterans in town, reached out to us because he has some exceptional footage of interviews that he has done with World War II veterans, and we are trying to consolidate that. He's got a lot of it, consolidate that and get it down to the Library of Congress, because it's that important, because we have fewer and fewer of those veterans around. So a couple of our teachers took the time to meet with Brian, and they're working on that now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you doing that, because I actually had kind of poked the bear, I guess, and getting that done. And I also think that kudos to you. And again, this would be something that would be a feather in our hat for East Lyme schools that we should maybe let Erica Moser know about and get something written up, because and maybe it's too short of a time turnaround, but it's just great work, and it's great efforts and energy, and it serves everybody. So thank you.
I'll pass that along to our teachers.
Thank you.
Good. Very good. Amy, what was the response rate again at the middle school survey?
So altogether, 647.
Out of how many?
Jason,
Tim, I think we're at 742 right now.
Okay, so we're missing about 11%.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really good.
Could I just ask one question? Jason, when you get those film of World War II veterans, if you can share the video with us, I personally would be interested, and I'm going to assume the other board members would be interested too, if you don't mind, and that's possible.
Sure, happy to
Okay.
do that. Happy to
Thank
do
you
that.
so much.
Sure thing.
Jeff, what else do you have on this topic?
That's really it. I think we've, again, we covered quite a bit in conversation last week. This, the direction we'll stay the course and move forward from here, and we'll continue to monitor.
Okay, Jill, you got your hand up? You're still on mute.
I just want to express my opinion regarding whether the kids go back to school or not full time. I know I missed the last meeting. I would just like to say I'd like to see them going back to school, at least those in elementary now, because my thoughts are, as I look at this, is Thanksgiving, we should be okay. People will be able to stay away from each other Thanksgiving, but come Christmas, that's a tough holiday not to be with your family. And I think we'll see a spike 2 weeks after that. Now, I will say this, I think most of the people in Connecticut adhere to the rules because we saw what was going on in New York in March. But I just want to take a chance to express my opinion. I think the elementary kids should go back now than later, because I have a feeling we're going to do a pullback in the end of January, and I hope I'm wrong. But thanks for listening to my opinion.
Okay, good. Candace.
Just really quickly, maybe Jeff can speak to, I mean, I know that you're not the medical advisor, but for some reason it's echoing in my head that he had made the comments really in regards to spacing and how, and if that could even be done. Is that accurate, or am I thinking of something?
That is one aspect. I mean, the logistical side of things and work, right now, as I think I mentioned last week, the principals are at the elementary, middle school, Jason, and our 3 elementary principals and staff administration and staff as well are working on the logistical side of, how do you make that happen? Some of the biggest issues are parent and drop off and pickup, because you're doubling that population, which is already extremely high. So, are we staggering starts? Are we staggering, the end of the day? So there's lunch, cafeteria, in the middle of colder weather coming. So there's a lot of logistics that, we need to work through. And I think, with numbers around us going, the wrong direction, we hold tight and, we will focus on continue to look at this right at the start of the new year.
Just want to add, there was an app I had read about early on when we actually came back in the fall that seems to be doing pretty well, where you utilize this app and you basically text the school when you're coming up and your student comes out. So there is no lines, there is no, overture, I guess, I don't know, or too many people in one spot, but I believe it's Griswold that's utilizing it. I'm gonna find the link and I'm gonna send it to you. I can't remember exactly what it is offhand.
Yeah, I've heard about it, and Waterford was looking into it as well. It's something we can definitely look at all different options.
I don't think that there's a doubt that there are people that want students back in. I know that I do. I absolutely.
Oh yeah, we all do. Absolutely, absolutely, but in a safe manner.
Before get them in now. Okay, well, that's kind of all right in theory or saying it, but I mean, Thanksgiving is right around the corner and Christmas. And then what is really the outlook going to be for that? I don't.
Yeah, and that's totally unfair to our teaching staff to turn around if we were to say, well, tomorrow or next week, kids are coming back. I mean, there's so much more, I think, involved in that process that, we are working through. But it's not fair to them. There's been so much change on the aspect of our teachers and our staff. They're at the end of their rope, and we're nervous about them and their feelings in all of this. And we need to be listening to them as well as we make these decisions moving forward and collectively, logistically work towards that getting kids back in a phased approach.
Right. Definitely nothing is fair. And I just want to touch on really quickly because I wish I could pull the last meeting into this one to kind of resonate some more, things and so that people can remember kind of what our medical advisors and really what was kind of touched upon in the questions that were asked. One being, well, how come other districts can do it and why can't we? And the logistics of it and really what it means for us in comparison to some of these other smaller districts. And again, I'm telling you, as far as personal thought pattern on this, if you had said to me, if you want to send your children back in the fall, both of my kids would have gone back to school. I would have sent them. That's my personal opinion. But when you start thinking about making decisions on the level and the amount of students and people here in this district. And that's exactly why I have said over and over, can you please throw me a survey? Because a survey doesn't give you the answer, but it gives you a guider and it gives you where people are at. And if you have a tremendous amount or half and half of people that would prefer to come back and half that would prefer to be at Virtual Viking, well, then maybe we might be able to have an honest conversation about bringing that amount of students back full time, possibly. Please consider the survey, please. And I think that as we move forward, we will be. And keep having the dialogue. I do think that when we talked about the AAA, communication, town hall type conversation with more folks, I think that it would be good. Across the board, people are at the end of their ropes. So if it's a teacher, they're at the end of their ropes, parents are at the end of their ropes, everybody's having their own experience. Some may be thinking, if I could just get my kid back into school, this and this and this might fall into place. But the truth of the matter is say we were to just, we're going to have everybody come back. In theory, it's really not that easy. And I can guarantee and would probably put money on with the next 2 or 3 weeks, we would all be fully remote. I believe.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I don't want to try decisions that are actually going to put us back. So we just have to really be smart and really, take all the things into consideration and have good, honest dialogue. Thank you.
Yep. Jeff, don't you have are you surveying the elementary
Yes.
parents?
Yeah, we're seeking some feedback on the current model and work that they're engaged in, and we'll have that back by Wednesday.
By Wednesday, and then you're going to do the high school as well a little bit later.
We're in talks about the high school. I think we need to look at looking at staff and getting feedback from staff, from students, as well as students that are involved in it. That would be the next thing we'd probably be looking at.
Okay. All right. Good. Lee.
Yeah, this is a take it or leave it. I know I would consider potentially setting some sort of date, like a concrete date where we're gonna within the next window of which we're gonna make a decision. Obviously a lot can change over the course of a week or two, but I know my son's preschool, I know that they're reevaluating this on November 20th. And as a parent, having a concrete date to look forward to and know that yes, maybe the answer is they're going to be staying in hybrid and the next reevaluation date is going to be December 12th. But I think part of what sometimes feels really overwhelming about this is it's just, we're going to keep talking about it. We'll keep reevaluating. Whereas if there is a concrete date, at least with my parent hat on, I find that much more palatable than just kind of this drawn out, more nebulous idea of we're just going to keep an eye on it.
Good point. Bill, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just had a question. Mentioned the logistics going back to changing our course at some future date. Who is involved currently with those logistics? Did we reconvene some of the groups that met over the summer? Is it simply administration? Do we have teacher involvement? When you're talking about the logistics, I'm just wondering who's doing the planning, assuming we do make that call. Who's involved with that right now?
Yeah, I'll let the principal speak a little bit to that, but yes, I mean, they started the process, they were working with some of their team leaders. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, so Bill, team leader today. So I've pretty much, the first thing we did is go back in and review the plan that we did as a committee over the summer, because many of those things are accurate, because remember that plan assumed a full opening back then. And so we adapted that plan to come back under hybrid, but I've added to it things like traffic in the back, because that's information we did not have over the summer. We've added what our lunch waves look like. And then at team leader today, we're gonna, we said we'd set up our first meeting with anyone from the logistics committee that's interested in helping with that, or anybody really in the building. And I'll give them the draft based on the new data that we have. And then we'll have that presented to Jeff before Thanksgiving break.
Yep, that's the timeline. And then Jeff, thanks, Jason. And then Jeff, Melissa, or Danielle, any further thoughts?
I did.
Sure, they want to jump in.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so I've been working on this for about a week. What I'm doing at Niantic Center is I have met with my team leaders, and each grade level is reporting back to me what they think they would need to do this. You know, the biggest areas for us obviously are drop off and pick up. With West Main Street, we're already out to West Main Street right now, and that's with half the kids, right? So we've got to come up with some kind of a staggering either arrival and dismissals. Also, as many of you know, walking the building from the construction project, classrooms are not very big. So we removed all of the tables, and we have just enough desks to have singleton desks in each classroom right now. And so we are going to have to bring back all those tables out of storage, which will take us some time, but that's fine. The issue is the social distancing. We have to be clear about that, I think, and with parents, that there won't be social distancing in those classrooms of 20, 21, 22 kids. And the other issue being, many of you have seen Niantic Center's cafeteria, social distancing in there without masks, that's not going to occur either. So we've talked to Chris Lund, we've talked to Chris Urban. We're trying to figure out lunch, and how we could spread that out a little bit. So I, so far, have received grade 3's information. And some of the special ed areas, we're going to need a lot more plexiglass. We're going to need some of those 4 dividers for instruction so that we can do group instruction at that point. So there's a lot of things that are going to have to go into this. It's not as easy as just flipping a light switch. There's going to be a lot of logistical barriers that we're going to have to break down to get to this. So I just hope everyone can be patient. I mean, we're watching the numbers. We see the numbers. School districts, many of them are going remote, and we had Valley today, who was in full, is now remote until November 30th. So I think we've done a really, really good job of sticking with the guidance and the recommendations from the governor's office and from our medical professionals. And I think we've done a tremendous job to manage this the way we're managing it. And I know we all want kids in, but I also know that none of us want that on our shoulders if something is to go wrong. I agree with Jeff. We've got to be very careful, because I wouldn't want that to land back on me. I would want to be very clear with parents as to what that's going to look like when we come back full. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all the work you do. This is not an easy thing for any of us, and I appreciate everyone having a different opinion. And I'm glad that we're all working together to try to do the right thing. So thank you.
And Jeff, I can add on to that too, just from Flanders, a couple other perspectives. I know specials areas teachers are concerned about the time cleaning in between the classes coming through if we have twice the amount of students, and what that would look like. And then also going into the winter months right now, we're able to get outside for our mask breaks, but as the weather gets colder, we'll be having them in the classrooms, and they're just not safe enough for the 6 feet of social distancing. So those opportunities for kids to take off their masks and have those breaks, and what it will look like if we have, 20, 22 kids in a classroom. So those are just 2 other perspectives in addition to, all the things that Jeff has said. But the teachers have done a wonderful job really going through, and tackling those logistical concerns, but also providing possible solutions so that we can start to really target it, so we can get kids back in.
I think that was well said by Danielle and Jeff. Not much more I really need to add, except that we have our own problems based on our buildings. Like Jeff has traffic issues. I don't really have traffic issues so much because I have the access road I can use. But I think overall, we're up against a lot of the same constraints, and we're working with our staff to make sure that we have a plan in place for hopefully the point in time where we do end up coming all back.
So I guess to my next question is then, how soon would it be? I mean, Lee was talking about a possible date for making a decision, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like Jeff couldn't make the decision today to go back because we don't have a plan that's currently ready in any of our schools to deal with all of the students. So I guess it's at what point will we have that plan? So making the decision's a moot point right now because we don't have a plan in place.
The new date and target, Bill, is right before Thanksgiving. The principals are going to have that information, just all the logistical information up before Thanksgiving. So we're talking target dates. The first of the new year is the reassessment date. For May, end of the holiday break. That's the date. If you want a date, I'll tell you January 4th. I think that's Monday.
And so, but my point is, we'll have that. We'll be able to review that plan prior to that, what that's going to look like from each of the buildings.
Yes, and I'm not saying students are going to come back January 5th. There needs to be.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that
that's the reevaluation.
We know what it's going to look like.
Exactly. We'll be ready. Yeah. Yep. We'll have the logistics done.
Barry, did you want to ask a question? Yeah.
I just want to make one quick comment, Tim, if that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Looking at this, when I talk to parents, we're discussing this as an either-or issue of either kids are at home or they're in school. And I talk to parents about the idea, and they are, as Candace was saying so eloquently, that there's a lot of angst about parents about, getting their kids back together and getting to school. And it translates many times into an economic issue, that the parents have to figure out, like, how do I take care of my kids and how do I, take care of my job? And for lack of a better term, it's not just an education issue that are in the parents' minds, but it's, again, this is a term, don't beat me up because I use it, but it's like a child care concern. It's like, how do I take care of my kids, during this time while I have to get to work and they can't go to school? The interesting thing that I ran across the other day was Mystic Aquarium has a program now where parents can, it's a pay thing, but they can send their parents to Mystic Aquarium, their kids to Mystic Aquarium, and the kids come in with their computers from various school districts, and there's a proctor, an adult at the aquarium that takes care of it, but the kids, are self-managing their own work on the computer. It's, again, back to that term, it's, as I talked to some of those parents, it's a child care type of option. It's not so much, again, I'm just going to repeat, it's not so much that we have to think about how to get kids back to school. It's how do we help set up situations where parents can feel safe about putting their kids someplace where they can continue their hybrid model and parents can go back to school, back to work. I don't know how many options there are in our town. Someone mentioned to me that like Bob's Warehouse is vacant. If we could take a facility like that or others, and again, think not so much in terms of we have to send kids back to school, but again, that term, a child care type of option where parents could send their kids and they could bring their computers, continue with their instruction using the computers with adult presence that parents would feel safe sending them there. So I think that, again, there's a third option here that we're not necessarily locked into either home or at school. There's a third option. We might be able to work. And if funding becomes an issue, I don't know how flexible or fluid some of the FEMA funds or the funds we're getting to deal with this from the state and federal government might be to explore options like that. So I just think I'm just trying to expand the way we're thinking about this. It's not an either or issue.
Okay, good. Good point. Okay, shall we move on? Candace, did you want to say something else?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for identifying the wave. Yes. I just want to say that Barry's got something there. I mean, again, we have to keep looking outside of the box. And I have noticed that a couple of areas around us are working like that. So for instance, I want to say it's Chesterfield, could be Colchester, but it's somewhere close. And they've created a partnership with their Park and Rec, I believe it is. And they've created like a learning lounge type of space where I believe that it is in a community building where, yes, families can drop their children off. Maybe it's 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe it's 9 to 2, something around that. But that is a factor. It's one of the many factors that is contributing to just one more challenge along with COVID, but all of the other challenges that people are juggling. A lot of our families here in East Lyme do participate with after care or early before school programming. So whether or not it was before care, after care, middle school would possibly go over to the community center. Clearly high majority of our students would participate in after school activities, till 4, till 5, till 6, or even later at the high school for sure. So I think it's something to consider and maybe have a conversation with our Park and Rec folks and see if there's anything that we can utilize maybe at the senior center, the Park and Rec center, something. I don't know about Bob's, but there was a building that's kind of close by, the industrial or something. Definitely something to have a conversation about. And I think it was a great idea, Barry.
Good. Very good. Jamie?
Sorry. I'm just going to interject a little bit. Well, I like both of those ideas of giving parents a place to have their children supervised for the day. I also don't want this to turn into something of the haves and have-nots, because we do need to keep in mind that not every family in East Lyme, even though we are a more affluent community, we are not an affluent community. There are many, many families in our town that struggle. So I don't want to widen our education gap, because there are many families that cannot afford to get their students tutors and private care, or to pay to have someone supervise them during the day. So I would just like to keep that in mind of everybody, because there are a lot of families struggling now more than ever to pay for their lifestyle, let alone pay to have private tutors and supervision for their children to teach them during the day.
Yep, good
Just
point.
let me add in on that, Amy. I was not suggesting that it's going to be a paying program. I think that we have enough funds that we probably could make it a public option for all students in our district.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Jill, get your hand up.
I just wanted to say this as I sit here and thinking, I know this is far away, but they are doing such programs in the town of Roanoke where they've taken some of the funds from, I can't remember the grant or the program or whatever, but it's something on a national level where they're the town of Roanoke is contracting with nonprofits to set up those study rooms. So if you'd like, I can call and see if I can get any information on that. Again, it's one more thing that we bring to our plate, but it's another opportunity. And I think we've got to do whatever we need to do, because we have January 4th. And thank you for making that date, that marker in the sand, Jeff. That really, really helps. manage what's going on. So at least in my head. So anyway, I just want to throw that out. I can bring information if you'd like me to. If not, ignore my offer.
Okay.
Happy to entertain, all thoughts, Jill. Feel free to shoot me whatever you have or whatever you find.
Yeah. Yep. Good. Excellent. Okay. We lost Candace. Oh, there she is. Okay. We're all set then to move on to the next item. Next item is inclement weather days. And Jeff, I think you have some information here for us.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of regional discussions and took a regional approach to what I had referenced in the parent letter that I sent you on Friday. Two things with the remote learning days, just so everybody, the public knows. So the state has given us temporary option this year to, if we have a inclement weather or quote unquote a snow day, we can use it as a remote learning day. With that being said, we have 3 days built into our calendar now, which is new this year, which I think was a great move on behalf of all of us to put those in so we don't impact the end of the year. And a couple other districts around us have that option too. What we all collectively came up with was the thought of, the first few snow days to keep them as, if we have a snow day or I want to use snow, if we have an inclement weather day, keep it as a cancellation for the first few. Number one, to maintain, some normalcy, for kids who are used to that and have had that in their lives for, however many years, they've been in school. So that's the number one and most important reason for the social and emotional side. Trouble seeing, my own kids kind of get up and look outside and see the snow and jump on the screen for a couple hours. So that's the first piece. The second piece is per the requirement, all staff, faculty and staff, need to be, paid for the day. So you're going to have, some staff that are working and getting paid, and you're going to have some staff that are not working and getting paid. So you have an inequity there, which is a bit of an issue, I think that we would find. So mainly for those 2 main reasons, again, and I'm not saying we would, do this, the whole way through, but the first 3 inclement weather days, we treat them as, normal snow days with closures. And then we just put them into we have the days in the calendar already set where those days would become school days. Then we reassess, after those 3. And basically, those around us regionally again are doing pretty much the same thing. So that's kind of my position on, on that component for those 2 reasons. The other piece too, very challenging for staff who, if you have a snow's coming, we typically, some often call it in the morning if it's ice. There's no way I could call for a remote learning day at 5 o'clock in the morning and expect staff to be able to flip that switch and be able to do that. They need time to plan and prep for that. But we would need to call those days the night before or the afternoon before, really to give staff ample time to prep for a remote learning day. And what if you have power outages as well? How do staff then work remotely when there's no power, whether it be in parts of East Lyme or those staff members that work or live in various surrounding districts? So happy to to talk about any of that, but that's kind of the position of where we're at.
Okay, Bill's got his hand up, and then Eric.
I would agree with you, Jeff. What is better for your social, emotional learning and your well-being than to get on the sled and go have some fun? I think we give the kids a snow day and let them be kids. That's
Thank you, Bill.
my vote.
100% agree.
Good. Eric?
Yeah, a couple comments. So yeah, complete agreement. The best days in the world and the best memories are when you wake up and you don't have to go to school because of snow. So we don't want to take those memories away. So I agree with that. So couple though, just process and practical. So first, we've had issues, I think almost every year where we have a building close and not for snow, but there's a leak or whatever it is, some power outage or whatever it is. I was hoping that those would not turn into building snow days, but rather turn into building remote days. What are your thoughts on when that happens?
Yeah, no, I agree. My initial concern though is when we can get the message to staff to be able to go remote, because it's as I mentioned, extremely challenging if I had to call that at 5 a.m. For them to be able to flip that switch with the planning aspect. We can let them know the night before, definitely. Let's go remote in a situation like that, Eric, so we don't get off kilter, off balance with one building already having a closure and the others not. So
Okay.
that's yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And then, so that's why if we built in 3 snow days, I guess my recommendation would be the first 2 are snow days, like they're automatic. But I would try to keep 1 in the hopper, like 1 in reserve, just in case, because I'd like to, and again, we're going to make mistakes. We make mistakes at 5 a.m. We'll make mistakes the day before and call a day. But, you know, we've seen remote learning works. It's not great when it's for a full year and all that stuff, but if it's on a, you know, ad hoc single time basis, I think we probably have gotten pretty good at this, that we can execute it well. And so that would be my recommendation, is maybe like 2 of them, first 2 are snow days, but I would want to keep 1 in reserve. And then my last question though, you mentioned something about equity, that some teachers would be working and some would not. Is the equity concern from the union's perspective, or is the equity concern from our perspective that we're paying some teachers or workers who are not doing work? Where's the equity concern?
Yeah, that piece right there, you know, across the board, it's just that, you know, you will have some staff that will, you know, get paid. Take, for instance, a lunch recess monitor or a cafeteria staff worker. You know, they're not coming in. Or if we close the offices too, keep in mind, all of our security staff members, there's nothing for them to do at home. If they can't make it into the building and we did this and made it a remote learning day, all of them are paid for the day for not working. And others that are working, you know, are paid for the day as well, but they're actually working. So it's just a bit of an equity piece.
From an economic standpoint for us, no difference from our budget, because we budget for 180 days. So if yes, they're getting paid for not working, but we budgeted for that day anyway for the security.
Yeah, we did budget, correct. Yeah, it's just more of a perceptual.
It is, yeah, but okay. For me, I'm okay with the, I guess, potential inequity. It is what it is. But I like the idea of being able to predict when our last day of school is, when graduation is, and that we have clarity on that piece. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, right now, I think our last day is on a Wednesday or a Thursday, the 17th. I think that's a Wednesday. We don't want to go past that Friday, clearly. Right. You know, there's no reason why with having this as an option, we should have to. And we've traditionally had graduation, you know, on a Friday in the years past. So it definitely, I would not want to go past that.
Grace, I see you've hung in here. Did you have anything you wanted to share?
I overall like the idea of having those built-in snow days and letting the kids not have to do remote learning for those days. At first I had like a little initial concern just about possibly getting behind in some classes for AP classes, but experiences with AP classes last year on snow days, they would sometimes post stuff too, just to keep you on track, which I think is, if they do that again this year, it would be like overall better, I think, for the kids, because they'll be able to do it on their own schedule too. And so being able to have that day off would be really nice. And then also, I think if students didn't have that day off and had to go Zoom in, I think that they wouldn't be like fully there and engaged in the classes, because they'd be distracted with wanting to be outside in the snow. So I overall like the idea of it.
Good. Very good. Very good. Jamie?
Thank you, Grace, for sticking around. So I guess Jeff, I'm so happy that you said what you said, but honestly, I don't think it's really going to matter when the last day of school is, because odds are, the way things are looking, the seniors are not going to have their regular graduation. They've already lost their senior picnic, they've lost homecoming, they've lost Spirit Week, they've lost their senior seasons. I mean, the odds are pretty good that the way things are going, we're not going to have a typical graduation like we've expected in the past. And I feel really bad for the seniors. I really, really do. They've missed out on a lot this year, and I would hate to have them miss out on these nice little snow days, because they are a part of growing up in New England. I guess I'm being real here, and that we really do need to think about the long term, that putting them in front of a computer screen for a whole day, because I was reading that letter from the Department of Education, they're talking 4.5 hours for an elementary student on a snow day. That's more time in front of the screen than they do now on a typical school day. So they want them to do more time than they do now. I don't understand what they're looking for, but I'm hoping that we continue to keep our snow days for our students. And I guess long-term, we do need to think about really what the senior graduation is going to look like. It's going to be a topic in the rest of their senior year, because it's not going to be what it is.
Right.
Yeah, well said, Jeannie.
Yep. Got time to plan too, which is actually good point. I wrote, actually, when we were talking about that, I wrote down graduation the same. So, okay, are we good? Let's move on then. And Grace, you don't have to stay.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item
Bye,
is a continued discussion and follow up on our equity and inclusion discussions. Last, what day was it? It was Thursday? Thursday.
Yeah,
Thursday. Little rough. I think we moved things a little bit, but I don't think we, right at the end, I think we were really kind of starting to get into what we wanted. I think everybody wanted to do was have a conversation. Jeff and I have talked about this. And I think and I apologize for this, because I'm sure I'm going to hear, we need to do something. We need to get something on. I think we need to do maybe like a committee of the whole meeting where it's just us, and we have a chance to have a conversation and hear each of our thoughts around this. Certainly, the correct presentation today was very interesting, but we need to talk about that in light of a whole bunch of other things. I think there were some elements that Joelle showed us that might help us bucket some of the conversation. And Jeff and I have been talking about a process or something where we can have the conversation with everybody talking, and we try to synthesize right there and on the spot kind of the consensus as what are the top couple of things we need to do to move forward. But our sense was that we desperately need the board, Jeff, to basically take a good hour and something, 2 hours, I don't know, whatever it takes to have the 2 hours, James says, to have the conversation that we've basically tried to have twice, and we actually have gotten, or maybe even 3 times when you think about it. So that's kind of the way where I was, where at least where my head was. I thank everybody for hanging in there, and during last Thursday. It was a little bit disappointing from my vantage point, but again, at least we're trying, and I think that's important. So, Jeff, did you want to add anything to that before I open it up to the floor?
Just one piece that, I think, where many of us and you all have talked about it, looking for action. What are our action steps? So I shared with Tim an action planning template that we used with faculty back on October 9th. which is a good format. So maybe we could bring that into the equation and allow us to have a document in front of us to really put out on paper, what are our action steps, moving forward. So we can get some things down and start moving the needle.
So I don't know if we want to open up the conversation in general, or if you just want, if people agree that we need to take some more time with us, just us, to continue the conversation, and hopefully bring it to a head. Jamie, you got your hand up. Yep.
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Can we not put a time cap on it? Because I think that people get caught up in the time and that they plan other things, or our Board of Ed meetings have never ever had a time cap on them. And I think that putting a cap on people's thoughts and ideas kind of stifles our creativity and our conversations. So that if we could maybe say, we're gonna, Wednesday night at 5 o'clock, we're having a meeting about this, that's what we're having a meeting about. It ends. I mean, by no means am I saying it goes till midnight, but I'm saying that putting a cap on the time stops us from sharing our ideas like we've been doing the last 2 times. The 2 hours has been up and we've still had so much conversation left to have, and none of us have been able to share it because the 2-hour time limit is up. So that is just my suggestion.
Right. No, I agree. I totally agree with that point. I think we're just desperate to hear from each of us, and then for us to have a conversation to say, okay, this is what we think we should be doing, and do it as a team. I think that's the best way to handle this. I see a few heads nodding yes. Barry, you also, I haven't forgotten a question about Learn too. So
Okay.
go ahead.
I'll go back to that when we finish this, but
okay.
Basically, if we are going to have a discussion, I think it would be useful if we could specify what we're talking about, to add some specificity to it, because right now the issues and definitions of the terms are very amorphous. And so if we're going to have a discussion, we should be able to lead in to say, we're going to have a discussion about, and to be specific about it.
Okay, good. Yep. Good. Very good discuss. Very good point. Anybody else? Lee, I'm just looking for where people's heads are. Lee, do you have any, where are you at?
Both Jamie and Barry shared resonates with me. I think to Barry's point around, we could talk about this truly for multiple days and weeks and months. So I think getting really clear on what our goal is coming out of that meeting, and potentially even having some sort of bare bones draft or skeleton of what our action plan would like to be based on what we've already brought to the table, and then using that time to either refine, add, push back, could potentially help keep us somewhat focused.
Okay, yeah, Jeff and I can do that, and that'll give us something to focus on, and we can get that out ahead of time before we do it. Kate, where are you? Where is your thinking?
I'm thinking that, well, I agree with what everyone has said so far, and absolutely that we need to have an action plan. And what do we want to focus on? I really feel like if we just focus on our school, that might not be enough. I really feel like we need to probably get our Board of Selectmen involved and our police department involved. I think it needs to be more of just a school thing, but a community thing, because what we do will impact all of them. And I think that we could build it to a better level with more intensity. And again, integrated curriculum, having things that go across 4 different people, like family units, maybe would be a good way to do it, where people can kind of take the learning on and the opportunities individually, and then having it relate back to our social emotional and how we are as people and what the impact of it means, and how we can each, kind of what Jason was talking about a little bit too, just like picking a word. So I don't know if that would be a weekly word, a monthly word, whatever, but just an action item for how we look at it, and then having steps that would address each of those things. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, good. Very good. Anybody else? Bill, do you have any reaction?
I Again, I got caught up. I was unable to attend that last one,
That's
so I
right.
don't know if progress got made, but I go back to, when we first had the East Lyme Black Lives Matter group present,
Right.
I thought that they did kind of have some pretty good items mapped out there that I'm not sure why we're not including some of that input in our discussion, perhaps even getting to revisit that presentation, because in my opinion, they outlined with folks of color who understand the issue better than we do what the issues were. So to put a plan in place without including the input from the folks who kind of really shed light on this issue doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, good. Yeah, nope, that's very, very well said. Anybody else have perspective? See everybody looking kind of dead. Eric, Candace, and then Eric.
I'm not too sure what's happening with the computer. It's kind of coming in and out on you, Tim. I'm not too sure. Or maybe it's me. Maybe it's on my end. I don't know. I said at the last one, I'm all in on how many conversations that we need to have, meetings, whatever you want to call them, workshops, meetings of the whole. I'm in it till the end. I am looking to we want to move forward, right? I do feel very similar to what Jamie was speaking to, is we don't normally have a cutoff. And I think that the cutoff is really because we're bringing someone in,
right,
and we're paying her, right? So my sense is that right as we get to the end, that's really when we're really coming together and really where our creativity and things are coming alive. To speak to Bill's point, I think that yes, the group that submitted their suggestions had a lot of great suggestions, and I think that it's important to kind of go through those. But I also think it's really important to create something specific for East Lyme. And that's kind of how you come to that, is having all these conversations and different perspectives. I also certainly don't want to set a tone for a special interest group of any kind to create movement within an agency, within our district. So I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for some changes. We've talked about some really great movements. We've really come up with, I'm looking forward to actually putting out a statement specifically from our board in really setting a new tone here in our school district and what our expectations are looking like. And the only way we're going to get there is to actually have good, deep conversation with each one of our board members. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I think the CREC initiative is an incredible initiative. And that might be something that we might be able to partner with, which I believe that the group is going by SCORE now. I could be wrong. I think that that's their new name, which is great. So I think that might be possibly an initiative or a partnership that maybe we can work on together, maybe with fundraising, maybe for the CREC program. I'm not too sure, but I know that just having a good dialogue and really being open to different opportunities and different movements here is the right thing to do. So I'm looking forward to another opportunity.
And just a reminder, we have one of the members is part of our district-wide committee as well. So she's, I think she's going to bring some good value to the district and to the
Right.
group.
And I'm glad you said that, because that actually just prompted the third thought that I wanted to add on, and I'm getting a little tired, so I didn't. It was the task force. I thought that was an incredible option, and I think that that's where we can kind of pull in different folks throughout our community for a common goal, not just specific for the district, but really a town effort. And certainly from the responses that I've seen and I think that it would be well received.
Good, very good. Eric,
Thanks, Tim. So I guess what I'm looking for is a few things. One is that I'm real happy for us to come together as a group, because I think we have a lot of good thoughts and ideas, and we haven't had that chance to kind of bounce them off each other. So I think that'll be really good. But so leading into that, I really would like if we can get some pre-read so we're all kind of prepared for the meeting. And what I'm asking for, so maybe recirculate to Bill's point. I know I have it somewhere, but to recirculate what the SCORE group was previously, East Line for Black Lives Matter. They had sent some good documents for reading and education. So I'd really like to see that. I'd also like to see if we can get hands-on. I know that Joelle had put the New Paltz, New York up, but there's got to be other. Just can we do? Someone spend a little time doing some research, and if no one can, I'll do it. So we don't all need to do it, but send around. What have other towns, could be Connecticut, could be others, what have they done? So we can go into that and looking and being able to see what have other people done. And then what I'm hoping to get out of our committee of the whole is two things would make me really happy. One is I need some near-term action doing, like that we're doing something in the short term. I don't know what it is, and we can decide on what it is, but something that we can do and that we're clearly taking, some actions. That's not going to solve everything, but it's at least, it'll make me feel good that we're making progress. We're doing something, because I feel like we haven't done anything, and that's getting me, like anxious, I guess, or frustrated, whichever word you want to use. Then the other part is the longer term piece, which is like, what's our real plan? So it could be the task force, it could be things around, we're going to the doing the CERC or whatever that was, is kind of short term and long term, right? It's action right away, but it's probably going to reap benefits over years. But what are those things that we can do over time? And it might be, we're not going to come up with that answer at the workshop. That's not my expectation, but a path to get to what's our 5-year strategic plan for this, or whatever words you want to use. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of the committee of the whole, but I'd be very, very excited for just us coming together to do that.
Okay, good. So we will set that up and do some work to kind of hopefully make it as productive as possible. And I appreciate all the feedback and openness. I mean, you guys are we're gonna make this happen. It's gonna happen. So Kate, yeah.
Just real quick, I just typed in something while we're talking and deliberating, something that I found, Black Lives Matter at School, and it has guiding principles, the demands, curriculum. It looks like a wonderful resource. People like a starter kit. It might just be something that people could take a little bit of time, and really good articles and things. So might get us jump started in the right direction.
Good, excellent. Okay. All right. So Jeff, anything else you want to add on this one?
No, I think that's right where we kind of wanted to land, on this, and I've heard everything that, the action components, getting some templates in place, the pre-reads. I think that's a good idea, Eric. So yeah, I think that was where we want to be, Tim. Well, you and I will sit down, we'll talk, and we'll look at committee of the whole.
Yep. Okay, good. All right.
Hey, Tim?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, Barry, I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot your the other point.
Yeah, the CRUC thing, okay? Because I was thinking while it was going on, one thing that Eric had said last meeting before that about process, about when we get ideas on the table, how do we proceed with them? And, do we just talk about them, then somebody makes a decision, or do we vote on them or whatever? And it got me wondering whether this CREC initiative is a fait accompli. Is this basically just brought to us for consideration? My perspective on it is the whole arena of teacher prep, principal prep, superintendent prep is highly competitive. It's a moneymaker for a lot of people, and there's some very, very inventive and creative options that the various organizations come up with to pursue it as a way to bring money into their coffers. So INCREC is one of those. They're very, very good at it, at funding themselves. You know, and that's not a negative thing, but they are very opportunistic on it. The key aspect of their program that has made many of the ARC programs falter is the fact that we as a district would be offering a placement for a person who went through the ARC program. I mean, that is huge. And that's one of the reasons many people don't go into ARC, is because they don't want to give up their time for the placement and whatever. I am an option to pursue before we jump into the spending the multiple thousands of dollars with CREC, is to, I mean, there are other options. One of them that comes to mind is to basically go back to the State Department of Education and their ARC program and say, look, if we partnered with you and with a selection process that we could interview candidates and we could select somebody, and if they went through and successfully completed your program, we would offer them a position here. And that way, all the money for it and the preparation for it would be gone through the standing ARC program. And our only commitment to that would be to basically pay the salary of the person who would eventually be placed here. We get some advantages of that because there's a higher admissions criteria to get into the ARC program at the state level. And I think that the type of the cadre of instructors they have at the state level is they're more established and they have a better, I think, reservoir of instructors than CREC might be able to get, you know, on their startup base. You know, they're just getting into this. So anyway, process, how do we proceed on this? Suggestion, there are other options to look at before we falter, before we lock into CREC.
Barry, the acronym that you're saying is, I'm not familiar with it. Is it, you said ARC? Is it, spell it?
Alternate route to certification.
Yeah.
Alternate group.
Route.
R-O-U-T-E.
Route. So basically, that's the program where somebody who has a bachelor's degree, some experience, they can apply to that and they get taken into alternate route to certification. At the state level, it is ultra competitive to get into it. Ultra competitive.
Sometimes people changing careers, Tim, that they go through that program.
Yeah.
We've hired a couple people through that program.
Barry, for our committee, the whole meeting, make sure you bring this up. Get it on the list. Jamie?
Just I wanted to add, for those of you who don't know, when we started these conversations and I was doing a CAVE workshop, so they suggested a bunch of different schools that were doing the same thing we were doing and how far along they are. Glastonbury Schools has done a huge amount of work on this already, and they have like a whole portion of their website dedicated to this. So if anyone wants to see some great ideas or resources, I highly suggest taking a peek at Glastonbury School's website.
Good. Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Good. Next item, delegate assembly. And Jeff?
Yeah, I don't have too much. This is for, Jamie had reached out and Candace, who, there it is, the famous blue book.
So,
I'm going to turn it over to you two to kind of talk about this, because I know you go every
year. So every year, we always try to get this on the agenda before the delegate assembly, and we never make it ever.
We're doing it.
So I've been doing the delegate assembly almost the entire time I've been on the board. I've been joined by Tim once, Barbara once, Jill once, and it's usually just Candace and I who go, and we do a partner up. And what it is they send you the nice book. CAVE sends you that nice little book of all the legislation they would like to see passed or attempt to pass in Hartford with the legislature every year. And each school has one vote. Well, some schools have more than vote depending on your district. But Candace and I usually try to figure out how our school would feel, how our district feels about each legislative idea. And I think that Candace and I do a great job of feeling out what our school's priorities are and how we feel. But it would be nice if we could get feedback from our own Board of Ed members before the delegate assembly every year. So this year it is the 19th Thursday. So I'm sure you all got your packets in the mail. And if you could please, you guys did not get packets in the mail? Tim, you're shaking your head no.
No,
Oh,
that's, that,
The ones that actually get the packets are the ones that are.
usually everybody gets the
Yeah.
packet. So I guess tomorrow at work, I'll scan in the entire packet and I'll have Jackie mail it to all the Board of Ed members so that they can review it and get back to Candace and I with ideas.
yeah, I haven't received, and Jeff and I were talking about this late last week. I haven't seen anything from CABE in terms of
You know what?
meetings and all that stuff.
So now this is interesting because I think it was Gail called me and asked me if I received my packet specifically. So I think had some errors. That could have been because she specifically called me to see if I got it, and she said, "Did you know if Jamie got it?" I said, "I'm pretty sure that she did, but maybe there was just an error because I think that you're right. Normally we do.
Normally everybody gets it. So
Yeah.
you know what? Tomorrow I'll scan in the whole packet. And I'll send it to Jackie just so everybody has it in case that they're just behind at CABE. Maybe they're just behind.
We'll check with CABE too, Jim, to see kind of what the status is on that.
Okay.
And what they're,
Is it gonna be a zoomed
It's
delegate
going to be
assembly?
a zoomed delegate assembly.
Let's see, yeah, so.
Well, and
that-
they did a training session, which they taped. So they did it at like noon on a Monday. So I'm going to have to go back and watch it. But yes, it's going to be a Zoom delegate assembly. So, and they're not doing CABE this year. They're doing it next year, but they are doing a lot more webinar training sessions
Right.
this year to make up for it.
Okay.
It's really reading through. That way you can
Always.
really, yeah. I mean, we've got stuff from student discipline, daily schedules for schooling, universal pre-K, one of my faves, right? Kindergarten school age entry. Another one that I am always speaking to, but nonpartisan boards of education, right?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Never going to happen, but it's always great to talk about it.
And really need professional development, teacher administration systems, school board member professional development, but just lots of really good, really good conversation and dialogue pieces. So it would be great to kind of get a feel for, how everyone, feels their perspectives. But yeah, I think that Jamie and I do an incredible job, and it's something that I think that we both look forward to every year.
Sure. Okay. So we'll look forward to Jamie, if you're going to be able to scan.
I'll scan it in and I'll send it to Jackie and see if she
Yeah.
can mail it out.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, good. And anybody has any comments or response or whatever, you can fire it back to Jamie and Candace. So,
Thank you.
excellent. Let's see, we've got a couple of first readings on two policies. So I don't know.
yeah, let me share just a little background on this because I had reached out to Jamie last week and then sent these two Title IX policies to the policy committee just to kind of take a look. And we're kind of bypassing the policy committee to get these on as a first read. Some changes came forth, the summer, and were enacted over the summer with our focus on, our policies as it pertains to equity and inclusion. I neglected to get these into the policy, to the policy committee, so my fault. Just wanted to get them moved forward. Not a lot of, some semantic changes, but the biggest things with Title IX, you probably took the policy committee members probably took a look at them. You've got, the Title IX coordinator, who is, Kim Davis. And she's been doing a great job with that, has done it for a couple of years now. But now you have to have investigators as well as decision makers. So there's additional staff components involved at each of the building levels when a situation, a sexual harassment or harassment piece, comes forward. So we just Kim set up and organized a full administrative and staff training that was about 40 of us that took part in last week. But we need to just get these policies moved forward. So I appreciate, sorry for the rush job on that, but we wanted to get them into the hopper.
Okay, good. So again, they're both first readings. So if anyone has any comments, forward them directly to Jeff, and he will handle that. So, okay, so that concludes the discussion action items for the evening, and superintendent's report. Jeff, anything?
Just two main items. So as you can see, our central office staff, we're not, in the office tonight. We're, in various locations and at home. We started the retrofitting of the lights. So remember we talked about and approved that. So that has started. So Chris Lund was meeting with them this afternoon. They're at central office for the next couple days. So we're getting that building done first, and then they will go from there. So that's exciting, and hopefully be saving us money as we move into the future, as we talked about. I'm still waiting to hear. I know Grace had mentioned she stole my thunder on the sports piece. Still waiting for additional information. I'll just keep sending you those updates from the executive director from CIAC to keep you, in the loop. No news yet on winter sports. And then Veterans Day, I just wanted to put a plug out for the principals and the staff. They've done a great job putting together some nice, Veterans Day is such a special event in East Lyme, and it's really bothersome that we can't do that on Wednesday. It's upsetting. We have so many veterans that come into the district. So each of the schools has done a really nice job putting together those, some videos. So we'll make sure we get those to all of you so you can view those, for the schools. So just wanted to share that out and let you know. And that's pretty much it on my end.
Okay, good. Eric, you got a question?
Yeah, just a real quick one. If, because I've been reading that it's likely that if there is basketball, it would be with masks, or at least that's where it's leaning. I have not done research, but Under Armour came out with a mask that is supposed to be for events. And I think it's expensive. They're like $30 masks or something, but maybe it's something we can, I don't know, somehow look into and see if they really do, if they are better, that they're effective, but also more breathable or whatever, and help. We can let teams know or whatever. I have not, my daughter bought one, but I haven't even asked her if it's good or not. So I can do my own, a little research on it, but
yeah, let me know what you find out, Eric. Definitely. If it works for her, we can look into it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Amy.
That's all.
I was just going to mention two items. The first being that this week I am in elementary classrooms. So one thing that I started is that once a month I send out a form to the teachers, and I basically say, you have sort of carte blanche. I can come and see your students. I can come and see you. And it's around the hybrid model and their instruction, and just really getting a pulse as to how are expectations being met, what support's needed. And for this month, I'm particularly just doing elementary, because I've been spending a lot of time with the high school in regards to phasing them into Zooming in, and then working with the middle school, that I decided this month I was going to give some attention and focus to really hearing the elementary colleagues. So I have that this week. And then I'll do it again in December across the whole district. So I'll continue to be in classrooms. I find that that's a little bit more of an orchestrated way to get in there.
Good.
And then my second piece is, unfortunately not on a more positive note, but our engineering team, as you know, we work with custom computer engineers, and one of the engineers on our team unexpectedly passed away over the weekend.
Oh my God.
So that has certainly been felt by our engineering team, very unexpected. And is in particular, this is an engineer that headed our Microsoft rollout and our Barracuda rollouts and our Securely rollout on our laptops. So a very valuable member of our team. So, my tech team is sort of working with that and trying to support each other, but we'll feel that a little bit on the engineering side, as Custom wasn't prepared to have to obviously fill for his position. And he had been with us for 3.5 years. So was certainly a member of our team and really helped move us forward. So we sent, obviously, to Custom on behalf of East Lyme Public Schools sympathy gift, and letting them know that they're in our thoughts at this time, but certainly an impact to our team over the last week. So we're just sort of getting we're deploying devices. So I think that's been actually positive, the device deployment, because we're getting a lot of parent kudos and appreciation for that. So it's nice to have that positivity balance with sort of reteaming. So I just wanted to share that. That's something that we've been dealing with, but
Yeah,
those are my 2 updates.
very good. Mariana?
I don't have much to add. I'm working on the budget and audit, and School Dude is up and running. Everyone's been trained. I actually went to Parks and Rec and trained Carol there. We are only putting it out to internal people right now because obviously our gyms are off limits, but once we open everything up, that'll go out to the public. So it'll be nice. We're getting rid of all the paper. It'll be a lot easier for billing and tracking, and so it'll be a good thing, much more efficient. And that's it.
Good. Okay. All right. Let's see, committee reports. There was a AAA committee meeting this afternoon.
There was, to my delight. We haven't had one in a while, so that was
Yeah.
really great. We started with an introduction to Shannon Saglio, I hope that I said that correctly, who is our new instructional technology coach. Shannon's been with our district for 10 years, and her energy was just fantastic. And I think that we all recognize the benefit of having someone in this position that has experience in the classroom. It's just key. Supporting our teachers in so many different ways. We did note the expansive software reference guide that we're going to put online with the meeting minutes, with the tools that are available district-wide. Is just an incredible resource. And I am going to ask Amy to speak to it when I'm done, because we could have probably had Shannon there for hours. I mean, just with different questions, and she just was delightful, to be honest with you. And then we just didn't have enough time to go over the expansive guide. So when I'm done, I'm going to ask Amy just to speak to it, if she doesn't mind. We also spoke to parent communication, kind of moving beyond surveys. And I just found this key, and it's really true to who Amy is and how she actively listens to each and every one of us, right? And just really tries to do her very best. She's incredibly committed, just like everyone else here. But it's really recognizable when she sits back and tries to listen to the resonating things that some of the board members are speaking to, and whether or not it's surveys out of me or communication, and trying to be proactive versus reactive. And, that's just an incredible gift, and to have that pulse. So we try to help each other. So I thought that it was really great that she kind of recognized and wanted some more input, and maybe how to be more proactive and really try to create that balance that we're looking for here in East Lyme. And how do you do that? You do that by talking and kind of finding out which different ways. And if this doesn't work, what do you think about this? And keep trying to shift to make it the best that it possibly can be. So I thought that was great. And of course, resonating on the survey part, and again, not data driven, but it does give a good guider. Barry shared about Google Guard, I hope I'm saying that correctly, as a possible tool. It was something that wasn't something that we wanted to really expand upon, but it might be something to look at. Also, we had brought in the town halls, that type of experience, but just continuous communication and having people part of the process. And a lot of times if you're proactive, then, it just, people are more on board, they feel part of things versus kind of being told after the fact. And right now we're just living in a land of, uncertainty, having to change, having to shift, all of these different factors. So one of the best things that we can all do is really work as a team. And I certainly agree with that we statement, and we all have spoken to that at different points through this entire journey. So we're going to continue to do that and look at different ways that we can continuously communicate. You know, the website, that Q&A type of process was pretty good. You know, maybe some YouTube videos. I think that those worked out pretty well. You know, whatever we can do. And if Amy can please speak to that expanded tool resource that is pretty grand, to be honest with you, but options galore. So
Yeah.
please.
So thank you. I found the AAA subcommittee meeting today very useful and really reflective on a couple different levels. But one of the items that I brought to the AAA committee tonight was actually our software reference guide that we provide to teachers so that the board members could actually see all the software resources we put in teachers' hands. So I have posted that on Board Talks under my update. I will also attach it to my weekly update so you can refer to it there. But what's important to note about that, and I am leaving with one particular action item, which actually maybe that's what I'll do in the weekly update, where I'm going to highlight for you which of those softwares we're actually paying for out of the budget versus which ones are free tools for us. Because that is one of the action items. But I think what's really important is you can see that we are trying to provide adequate tools to our teachers to be utilizing with our students, and then consistently reflecting, making sure that they're meeting our students' needs and the outcomes for them. So I'll go ahead and attach that on my Friday update, as well as obviously with AAA, I have a couple items to follow through on. So, but it's quite an expansive list, and it really is the work of Shannon and the instructional text to support the teachers with. But it's nice to have it for sure. So I'll share that with all of you. So thank you very much to the AAA subcommittee for tonight's meeting.
Good.
Amy, I have a
Excellent.
quick question. I
Sure.
know it's probably a simple question. I'm assuming all those software packages, they're all web-based. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. I know I'm not a geek. I'm sorry.
No, actually, you'd be surprised how many, you know, especially like in the tech ed realm or like a special areas realm, we did have software that actually lived only on certain devices that students were using. So to have to move to web-based solutions, especially one-to-one device, was key. So not a bad question, Jill.
Okay, good. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Candace. So that brings us to board comments and future agenda topics. Anybody have something they want to say? Jamie?
Sorry, I've got a couple. So if anybody has a quick one and wants to go ahead of me, because I do have a few.
No?
Nope. Okay.
Fire
So
away.
my first one is I'm very sad about Veterans Day. It is one of my most favorite days of the entire year to go into the schools and be part of the day. The kids learn so much and have so much fun interacting with all of our vets. I wish we could be in school that day. And I have to say my favorite part of the whole day is that walk to the green with all the kids. And I'm sad, so I just might take the kids down there. We might do our own walk and our own moment of silence on Wednesday. So if anybody wants to coordinate it, we could go down together. But so my other things are, is there any way to send our meeting reminders back out to staff like we used to do? Because with all the meetings we've been having lately, I know a lot of staff have missed out on our meetings because we've been having so many lately. They're not scheduled like they used to be anymore. Is there any way to start doing that again? Because I know a lot of staff are confused with our meeting schedule.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. That's the first I've heard of that, but definitely
Okay.
we can push that. You know, when the meeting's coming up, push it out. Absolutely.
Perfect. And then my second one is I've been hearing a lot of parents complaining about the laptops and the iPads having to go to and from school every single day. So I guess the question is parents want to know why they're going to school every day when they really should be doing not screen time, since they're doing screen time the other 3 days a week. So I don't know if somebody wants to, in the future, have that conversation. And then the other question is the insurance. I guess parents are concerned that what is the insurance covering besides 2 incidences? Does it cover a screen breaking? I know a lot of parents don't want to spend the $30 for an insurance if it is just like if you lose a plug or whatever it is. So maybe if we could have like a clearer insurance policy on what that $30 does cover. And then secondary, third, fourth, I don't know, I've lost track. A lot of parents want to know what sizes our laptops and our iPads are because they want to buy covers for them so that in case they do drop them, they don't break them. So if there's any way to give them measurement sizes for the laptops before we get them, or what brand, so that they can get them, because I know the iPads come with a case, but the computers and the laptops don't. So if there's any way to get that info out to parents beforehand, like make, model, and size, so that they can get that stuff if they would like to.
Okay, good, good. Anybody else? Anybody else? Oh, Barry.
Two quick options. One for future discussion, what could be called option C that we talked about before that Candace gave some really good ideas on. A safe place for parents to place their kids while they went to work and their kids pursued their hybrid models. I mean, I think it's something we could explore, and we could make it it's not a pay for thing, but I think we could provide it, you know, as a service, or as an option C that we could do for kids. I think that we can talk more about that. The second item, you know, I'm continually thinking about the school district and how we can be one of the best ones in the state. And I continue to look through the websites and information, and I'm continually intrigued by the fact that our elementary schools are Category 1 distinction schools. They get like high listings for their performance and growth marks. When the kids go, our middle school drops down to Category 2, most likely because their growth scores are below the standard. And our high school drops to Category 3, possibly because their SAT scores, only about 50% or so of the kids are making their meeting standard in math. And so, you know, it's like, why is this happening? And trying to get information. And one of the items I think that we could put on the agenda for future discussion, so that the board could have some information to look at, would be the results of this last year's school improvement plans, 19 to 20, because last September or so, all the schools generated some very detailed school improvement plans with specific activities, outcomes, measurements, results. And I think that would be great if the board could get that information, so we could look at what is the progress schools are making, and how could we then look at how they could make more progress on these and related items. So
Got it. Good. Excellent. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Jill.
Yes, I'd like to say two things. First of all, I'm Jamie. I don't know if any of your friends have the, I think it's Best Buy, where you buy a year guarantee that your computer will be fixed if you buy a new computer. You can also take any other device in your home in. I bought a new computer last year. Within a month, we took in Caroline's Apple that's 20 years old and had a new hard drive. So what I'm saying is, I don't know if we can share that with people, but I just saved myself like $150. And I will sign up for it again, because you can bring any device in your house if parents are concerned having to pay about something. Number two, I'd like to really support what Barry said. I looked at some of the information he was talking about, and I was in a state of shock. I mean, we have been in a failing level, or whatever you want to define it as, since 2015. I was stunned, because I've always prided myself on what a great town we live in and what a great school system that we participate in. We basically have always seen it as something very important in our community. I would really like to dive deep in that. I know that we need to hire people of color. I know we have a lot of things on our plate. And I also know COVID has also put us all in a difficult situation, but I think we need to make that one of our main focuses. That's embarrassing that I know other school systems are looking at where we are, which is something we've always prided ourselves as an excellent school system. So I'd like to strongly support Barry in what he's saying. And thank you.
Okay, good. Very good. Eric? And then Kate.
Yep. I just want clarity on something Jill said, because I hadn't really thought about it. if a student's computer breaks, don't we want to fix? I'm a little concerned that we're going to let people figure out fixing there are computers.
No,
Amy?
that's a good point, but I would probably call Amy and go, look, I got this great deal. I can get it fixed for free. But if it's something that is extremely expensive, but it may not be a viable option. Amy, you're in charge there.
Can we just get I just want clarity on that, because I do want to make sure we're clear on that with parents before rolling it out.
Yeah, so parents submit it to the district. We do break fixes in districts, and then we have warranties on everything we bought up to 3 years.
Okay,
That
good.
helps.
Kate?
Just real quick, I thought it was really nice and helpful last year when the Board of Ed had the opportunity to do some touring of the schools. And I'm just wondering if there would be anything, especially with COVID. I know it's particularly difficult, but also by the same token, I think it would be really nice to see a little bit about how the classrooms are being set up, what the Zoom looks like, what the hybrid's like. It's just such a mishmash in how I see it. I just don't really have a clear view of what it looks like and how it is.
Oh.
Just
No,
wondering.
that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
could
wondering
talk.
if there's something maybe I could do individually. I mean, I'm not going in to criticize, I'm just going in to understand. Just to-
Right. No, I think it's a great idea,
Yeah,
Kate.
We can definitely talk about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's good. That's
Okay.
good.
And then the other thing that we talked about previously, I know that we have VJ, who I think is great. He did the Lyme's test on my kids years ago, and we've had a relationship with VJ CCAT for a long time. And I'm just wondering if a cohort of medical could just come together and maybe have some kind of connection or establish a group of medical advisors, if that would be something, because I think we have some really vested parents who are also doctors, just to come together to bring in some good sound advice, because some of the people are really strong proponents of returning back to school. And I agree, education is important, of course, but health is critical. So we have to be careful and judicious in how we move ahead on that.
Yep. Okay, good. Jill, one more.
I just wanted to say that what I talked about in regards to the reports that are showing that we've been failing, I'd really like to make some type of action plan that we can put on the development focus by making that part of the agenda, because it's just, I was mortified. I was totally mortified. And again, I'm not an educator and I don't often do a deep dive in that type of statistics, but it made me very sad. Thanks for listening.
Jill, just to be clear, because it's a public meeting, I'm not sure what data you're looking at that's saying we're a failing district, because we're not a failing district. I mean, I think that's a whole huge conversation there. So I just want to be careful publicly. We're not a failing district.
I agree. Let me go back and look at what I have and what I found. I think I think I found it on Ed Insight. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not an educator. I may have looked at the wrong thing, so bear with me, but I think I found it on, is it Ed Insight?
Ed-Site, yeah.
And I'll show you what I pulled out.
Yeah, send it to me. Yeah, definitely. We can talk through it. Okay.
There's a lot of sensitivity around that word, and with teachers working so hard right now, it's just I hear what you're saying in regards to looking at areas of growth, but there's just
it's a statistic that's out there. No, I'm not. I mean, no, I know. Well, we do a great job. I mean, I had a child that went through the school system. I guess I may have framed that too strongly, but no. I just found something that I found it shocked me. Okay, thanks.
Okay, that's it. I had one last comment, and that is, Eric, tell the folks at Pfizer, thank you very much for some very exciting results. It's pretty impressive. 90% cure is our efficacy is
That's
just
amazing.
Ridiculously amazing. And obviously, it won't have an impact tomorrow, and it won't have an impact much in 2020. but it makes light at the end of the tunnel appear, and there may be very exciting, extremely exciting. So anyway, but with that, how about a motion?
I
to
would
adjourn?
love to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay. And it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.